Right, let's talk electronic shifting. Now, are you a fan? Let us know in the comments below. And we've recently done a video discussing the pros and cons of moving away from cables. There's a link to that popping up now. Now, if you're looking at a bike with electronic shifting and you don't want to remortgage your house or sell a kidney, then you'll probably have been pleased by the news that SRAM have brought their AXS wireless shifting down to Rival, which is their third tier group set. And here it is in the flesh. Now, SRAM says that you'll be able to pick up a Rival AXS equipped bike for about £2,700. This one we've got here is a Vitesse Evo CR and it retails for £3,199. Now, if you're looking to upgrade to Rival AXS, then the cheapest way to do that is a 1x system without a power meter, and that will cost you about £1,000. If you add in a double chainring and a front mech and a power meter, that goes up to about 1,500 quid. That's for the whole thing. So you get the shift brake system, the derailleurs, the chain set, the cassette, the chain, and the bottom bracket, and the disc brakes and the rotors. Now, this is what SRAM said at the launch. When we set out to design Rival ETAP AXS, the brief was that we wanted riders to have the same experience as you get with Red and Force group sets. If you were to ride 3 different bikes fitted with the 3 different tiers of components, yes, there would be some subtle differences, but the overall ride experience we wanted to be the same. Now, that's a pretty bold claim, and there's a lot going on here, so let's dive into some of the details. Let's go through these components individually, and we'll start with the shift brake system. SRAM Rival ETAP AXS hoods are a bit smaller than the higher end levers, which means you can wrap your hands around them more easily. This is partly because of what's missing here. For a start, there are no ports for remote shifters, so you can't fit SRAM's blip shifters to shift from different positions. Also, there's no contact point adjustment, which means you can't alter the point in the lever stroke where the brake pads come into contact with the rotor, although you can still adjust the lever reach. SRAM Red and Force ETAP AXS both offer a mechanical rim brake option. You don't get that here. SRAM Rival ETAP AXS is hydraulic disc brake only, using the flat mount standard. Now, these 2 piston calipers are very similar to SRAM Red and Force, and the bleed process is pretty much the same too. Like Red and Force, there's 1 lever on each shifter. By default, pushing the right lever moves you to a harder gear, and pushing the left lever makes it easier. Pushing both together changes the front ring if you have a 2x system. Okay, let's move on to the Crankset. Now, the Crankset is made from aluminium. It's available in various configurations, and the arms are available in lengths from 160 to 175 millimeters. Go for a standard 2x system like this, and your options are 46-33 or 48-35. Now, those probably aren't ratios that you're used to, and this is a gearing system that SRAM calls X-Range. That 10-tooth cog means that the standard HG spline design is out because you need a minimum of an 11-tooth sprocket for that to work. So you'll need a wheel set with SRAM's XDR free hub, which is effectively a slightly longer version of its XD mountain bike standard, with the R standing for road. There's a 10 to 30 tooth cassette and a wide range 10 to 36 tooth one too. So with that and either crankset, you get a range of about 500% between top and bottom gear, and a lowest ratio that's below 1:1, so you should be able to winch yourself up pretty much anything. With a single ring, the range is 360%, which is still pretty good. And there's a 43-30 double chainring option for super low gears on the gravel. Now, this Vitas bike is at the lower end of the Rival AXS price point, and as such, it doesn't come with a power meter. But adding a power meter only adds about £200 to £230 to the cost of the bike. It's a really affordable way of getting into measuring power. The power meter is housed in the axle, and the battery is in there too. It's not rechargeable. Instead, it uses a single AAA lithium battery, which SRAM says is good for 400 hours. It's a single-sided power meter, which means it measures your power at the non-drive side and it doubles it. So you don't get power balance, and if one of your legs is a tree trunk and the other is a matchstick, it's going to give you some odd numbers, but most people are pretty well balanced. Okay, let's move on to derailleurs. At the rear, there's just one version of the rear derailleur, which works with both 1x and 2x systems, and it has a maximum sprocket capacity of 36 teeth. As I said before, Rival AXS has a 10 to 30 and a 10 to 36 cassette. This bike's actually got a SRAM Red 10 to 33 cassette fitted. SRAM uses a mechanical spring clutch mechanism in the derailleur that's designed to keep the chain in place and keep your drivetrain quiet when you're riding over rough roads. Where there's just one rear mech, there are two options at the front to match up with the two different axle lengths so you can get the cranks in. They both get SRAM's yaw technology, meaning that the mech rotates slightly when you shift to do away with chain rub and the need to trim when you change gear. Lastly, let's quickly touch on the chain. The Rival chain comes in SRAM's flat top design, which again has trickled down from the higher level group sets. The plates of 12-speed flat top chains are thinner than those of 11-speed chains, so the extra material added at the top is designed to compensate for what would otherwise be reduced strength. Plus, they look really nice, although clearly that's not the reason they did it at all. So that's a look at all of the tech, but how does it ride? Well, sadly for me, I'm not going to find out today because this bike is a little bit too small for me. But we've got pint-sized Liam waiting in the wings over here. I'm going to hand the bike over to him and he's going to give us his riding thoughts on this new group set. Over to you, Liam.
Right then, so we've both had some quite a lot of time on the bikes, but it has given us some time on the group set. Matt, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I had it on a Trek Domani for weeks and weeks and weeks, probably 3 or 4 months probably. And yeah, in terms of the ride experience, I think SRAM's big thing when we spoke to them initially was they wanted your ride experience to be very similar to that of the higher level group sets, to SRAM, Red and Force. Their big thing was, let's make this feel like a higher end group set, and they've absolutely nailed that.
I think it's very much like the Ultegra versus Dura, especially at the Di2 level. If you flick between the two, there's very little difference. And if you were to blindfold, kind of, not that we suggest riding blindfolded, but if you were to ride these back to back without knowing which one was which, it would be very difficult to tell between.
Yeah, I guess the two big things you want from the group set, two big things that it does, A, the braking, and B, the changing gear. Well, they're indistinguishable from the higher level group sets. You wouldn't know. It's heavier, but in terms of the ride experience, it's very, very similar.
Let's touch on that braking first, because SRAM has had disc brakes pre-nailed for years now. Yeah. That's no different with this. It's very progressive, there's loads of power, and you can control that power very, very easily.
Yeah, it's kind of straight swap. When you're on the bike using it,
yeah,
it's the same experience. Yeah.
And so they're sticking with 160mm front and rear for the rotor sizes, because they've been doing that, you know, as standard for years, whereas Shimano has been sticking with 140s.
You've got the power and you've got easily controlled power. It's why mess with it, you know? It works.
Yeah. And then the other thing that you want a group set to do is, well, change gear for you. And there it's using exactly the same system that you're used to with any ETAP system. So your right hand goes that way on the cassette, your left hand goes that way on the cassette. Press them both, the front neck changes. And
yeah, you know, and it's all so compatible with SRAM's app.
Yeah.
So you can mess things around if you want. You can alter the way things work. The technology there is the same. You can change up under pressure. You can change down. It doesn't do anything strangely.
Yeah.
The speeds that changing up and down are exactly the same.
Yeah.
It's as I keep saying, the way it works is the same.
You might want to add a power meter to your bike. SRAM have done something that's really quite good.
I think this is a really strong feature that they've included. So, unlike the existing SRAM Quark power meters, this one is incorporated within the spindle of the chain set. Okay, so it's not on the not on the spider on the on the drive side. It's within the spindle. So that means that it's left leg only.
Yeah.
So it'll take the power on that side and it'll double it, so it'll assume you're 50-50 to give that total number. But the other thing that it allows them to do is, if you buy a bike that's fitted with SRAM Rival ETAP AXS, they can allow you to upgrade to a power meter by just buying the non-drive side crank with the spindle, and you don't have to buy the drive side chain set
as well
that you've already got.
Well, one, that makes it a more affordable option for people to actually do the upgrade, but also there's less wastage, so it's a bit more eco-friendly.
If you're taking it from one side only, as long as that one side only is consistent, that's what you work to. So whether you're calling your power output 300 watts or 350 watts or whatever it happens to be, is as long as that proportionately moves up and down and you've got the bands, it doesn't really make much difference whether it's getting that by saying that's 40%, 47% of the power you're putting in, or 50%. It makes not a lot of difference, you know?
Okay, so while that's all great, one thing that we don't really like that much is the chainring situation, because you, at the point of purchase, kind of have to buy into one or the other between 1x and 2x. So you have to decide what you're going to run. Matt, what's the reasoning behind that?
So let me give you the full.
Oh, the science glasses are
full
on.
SP. Rival E-Temp AXS 2x chain sets have an integrated spider. The 1x chain sets use direct mount chainring, so you can't swap between 2x and 1x quite as easily as you could with the higher level group sets. Not many people are swapping between and certainly not swapping back and forth.
While we're down at the gearing, there is still a very good range of cassettes. There's good range of chainring sizes. SRAM with the AXS stuff is shrinking the chain rings because they've got the 10-tooth rear cog in the back.
We used to know where we were very easily with 5339, 5034, whatever. SRAM's mixed all that up a bit and it becomes a little bit more complicated. So you need to do homework before you buy, because you need to know what sort of range you're looking at. There's only a couple of cassette options with Rival AXS, but you can, it is compatible with cassettes from
Force and Red,
the other, so you can, so you have those open to you as well. So you have quite a range. You will get exactly what you want.
I mean, realistically, the sizes on offer are perfect for the kind of riders that are going to be buying into Rival.
Oh, absolutely. And you know, when this was launched, SRAM were really careful to say that it's not a road group set, it's not a gravel group set, it's both, you know, and the ranges of, the gear ranges on offer reflect that,
Cool. What's the actual difference between Rival and then Force and Red?
The main difference is, like I've been saying, most of the tech carries over. There's not a great deal different there. It's more about the materials that are used and, you know, in some cases, the production methods. So, for example, if you look at the chain set, the crank arms on Red are carbon fibre. Here they're not, but, you know, that's
I guess
the price you're paying for it being cheaper.
It also reflects what the group set's going to be used for. Like you said, if it's going to be combining gravel and maybe road, that may maybe mean it's going to do like the harder road miles or the endurance road miles. So
yeah, in terms of durability, there's nothing. You know, you're not going to take a hit on any of that stuff. It's just, you know, it becomes a little bit, as we said, a little bit less polished and a little bit heavier. You know, it's not a lightweight group set compared to the others out there. But, you know, the price reflects that. You don't get things like, for example, the rear mech, the rear derailleur on Red and Force is this Orbit fluid damper system, the clutch that stops the chain slap, basically. Here on Rival, rather than being a fluid system, it's a straight mechanical spring. So, you know, it's things like that.
And then as an electronic group set, one thing you're going to miss out on is the satellite shifters. Though again, how many riders does that really impact? Yeah,
I mean, particularly at this level, I mean, that's more of a race thing usually, not exclusively, but you know. And the flip side to that is because you don't have to have the ports for the satellite shifters, and there's a slightly less control over reach here, then that enables them to shifters to be slightly smaller, which is kind of you know, so that's a positive for most people. So, you know, it's not like it's a huge step back for most people, if at all.
But in general, we've both ridden this group set. I think it's, especially for the price, it'd be my favourite SRAM group set. I think it sits where Ultegra Mechanical used to sit, in that lovely, happy place between performance and price.
Bangs per buck, you get a hell of a lot here, and I think that SRAM has delivered what they wanted to deliver. And you know, it's a great option for a lot of people.
Well, SRAM's new Rival ETAP AXS is going to be probably quite an easy sell actually for bike shops. You know, oh look, you can have electronic shifting at this price point, which you know, always a tempting thing, isn't it?
It's bangs per buck. You're getting a lot here, and you know, not just in terms of PR and selling it. You know, it's not just about the bells and whistles. You're getting a really solid performance behind all this. So yeah, very easy sell.
Awesome. So that's our thoughts about the new group set. Have you ridden this group set? Have you got a bike with this group set on? We'd love to know your thoughts about this tech down in the comments below. If you like this video, then remember to drop a like on it and subscribe for more from us. We'll see you in the next one.